Namaste. We have understood the step number one. Intellectually, what exactly is the real self? So once we have clear understanding of the real self, then now what should be the ideal next step? Because intellectually I have understood, but I'm not living that kind of a life. As we understood that the real self is do you still remember real self is eternal? It is truth, absolute truth. It is all pervading. It is, it cannot be, no, it is all pervading. It cannot be objectified. It cannot be objectified. It cannot be the doer. It is always the knower and it cannot be modified. And in another way, in the last session, we have understood it is the absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. Means its nature is peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Question is, again, the next question is that how to realize that? What should be the ideal second step? What should be the ideal second step? So prepare your mind first before we go to the next step, second step. And that step is nothing but the karma yoga. What is karma yoga? Means action, whatever the action that we take in our life, we think and we speak and we act in our personal, professional, social life. We need to bring about an inner change. We need not to stop any activities, but we have to introduce something deeper from the mind so that our action becomes the action yoga is what the karma yoga is. Why? It is going to purify the mind. It is going to bring the calmness. It is going to prevent the past impressions which sometimes takes over and create reactions in our life. Lot of stuff. So now you have to pay more attention on the second step along with the step number one. So please close your eyes. Eyes are closed. Please become aware of the place where you are sitting, that very place. Whether you're sitting on a couch or anywhere, but you just become aware of the place is not causing any trouble. Then the position of the body and posture. Any posture will do, but yes, the position of the body should not create any kind of a stress in you at this time. And in order to remove that stress, we are comfortable. So, how we become comfortable? How we are being comfortable, not become comfortable. We recognize that comfort which is our nature. So, just looking mentally. Mentally looking means mentally being aware, feeling, sensation. So, mind moves on the neck joint, being aware of sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Mind is aware, or if I say, look mentally in your mind, shoulder joints. So when the mind goes there, you feel the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Mind goes to the hip joint, be there. Feel and experience sensation, comfort and steadiness. The mind moves from the top of the head to the toes. Means you are becoming aware of the different parts of the body from the top of the head to the toes, and you feel sensation, comfort, and steadiness. You're doing nothing. It is just an experience of sensation, comfort, and steadiness. And suddenly you discover the unwanted, undesirable thought pops up, enters into your mind. And you watch it, you observe it at a distance. Means like you are standing across a road watching the traffic. You don't enter into the traffic to watch the traffic. Same way, there is something in all of us, an observer, a knower who keeps standing across the mental traffic, and it can continue to watch the movement of the undesirable, unwanted thoughts at this moment. And you will start experiencing as if you are settling down. Why? Because the mind is moving within. Again, be clear. Now, when I say the mind is moving within, it is a rise in consciousness, it is a rise in awareness. What the mind will do if it moves inside the body? It is moving above, from the lower awareness to the higher awareness. In that state, look at the head and the neck. So either I can say look closely the head and the neck, or move the mind on the skin of the head and the neck, as if you're sketching your head and the neck. And then experience sensation, relaxation, and steadiness. Move the mind on the right arm, or I can say, allow the mind to touch the skin of the right arm from the shoulder to the fingertips, and experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the left arm, sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the rib cage, in the front, in the back. It is the mind that is looking. And we experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Mind moves on the belly. Sensation, relaxation, and stillness. You're not in a hurry. You move the minds gently on the right leg, from the right side of the waist to the thigh, knee, calf, ankle, heel, sole, toes, and experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the left leg, from the left side of the waist to the toes, and experience sensation, relaxation, the entire body. Your mind moves on the entire body, from the top of the head to the toes, and experience sensation, relaxation, and stillness. In that state, you are looking inside. You are looking inside the head or the heart. Take a look inside the heart, in the space, emptiness or blankness. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. Sarvesham swastir bhavatu. And then your mind says the meaning, may there be happiness for all. So visualize all with whom you are connected. And just recognize that happiness is their nature as yours. So when you see that, your mind picks up a feeling in favor or against. And there we have to maintain our equipoise. We have not to get carried away by a thought. So when we are not carried away by that thought, then what happens? Mind changes. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. May there be peace for all. So again, you are aware of everything outside you, people, things, people, relations, and recognizing the peace is the intrinsic nature of the real self, and everyone has that real self. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. May there be completeness in all. Have you heard about holiness? This is what the completeness is. So, holiness, we normally say His holiness, her holiness, highness, holiness. That holiness is a sense of completeness, means there is a real self which is of the nature of completeness. So, in that way, we all are holy. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. May there be auspiciousness for all. Auspiciousness means the very existence is one. We did it. Satchidanand, absolute existence, consciousness, bliss, is always showering grace and the blessing to everyone, including me and you. Why we don't recognize? Because of ignorance. That is why we have undertaken this journey. So we put the mind on the right track by this small practice. Now, at this moment, looking at the breath, doing nothing, looking at the breath. The breath goes in and breath comes out. That is what you feel. That is what the looking the breath means. But we look something more than that. While breath is going in and out, we also feel the sensation of the breath inside the nose. And we also become aware if the breath is changing its rate or the rhythm. At the same time, we are aware of the stillness in the body. You see that in the field of awareness. We see many components of the movement of the breath. The way we see the space inside the home contains not only our body, but also the articles, the kitchen, bedroom, etc., etc. That is the nature of the real self, acts as a container. So, by awareness of the breath, we explore who is the container. Obviously, you are doing nothing in that state. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your awareness on the right hand, your awareness on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes. Know your experiences, find the calmness, focus, clarity in the mind, because that will help you to continue to listen to our second step. Bring your hands down. So, second step is how to bring about a change in our action from inside, so that our behavior, our attitude changes. Not only that, but the past impression also dissolves. Do you remember what we did in the last week's session? We understood that this real self is of the nature of absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. I talked about Sat Chetana. So that Sat means pure existence. It is like the depth of an ocean, maybe the clear sky. The sky is a container, it contains everything, but the sky does not undergo any change. That is the existence, the foundation for all created forms to arise. I'm just summarizing the last week's session. And the second aspect is the pure awareness or pure consciousness. It is ever present. It is something like the light which is ever present in the entire room, and this is illuminating all the articles, including me and you. Pure consciousness. And the third is the bliss, pure delight, pure or permanent happiness. Have you seen the joy of a child at play? Happiness is experienced. That is our essential nature. This is one way we have understood, and another way we have understood the real self is eternal. It means it transcends the time. When it transcends the time, it doesn't take birth, it doesn't die. That is your and my nature. It is the sole truth, absolute truth. Why? It is independent. Third, we have understood the self pervades it is all pervading, it is all pervading. It cannot be objectified. Means I cannot see through my sense organ, but yes, I can experience insight. It is not the doer, it is the knower. Doing something, knowing something is different. And the last point we have understood last week, that it cannot be modified. You cannot change it. Today we are dealing with what we are dealing with. Now we know the real self. We have intellectually understood the real self. And still I don't realize it. I don't experience it. Why? Because there are millions and trillions of the past impressions that is blocking the realization. And those impressions are manifesting as a thought, as a speech, as an action in our life. Now, when you say, I got upset and I got into anxiety and duality, this is blocking me. My anxiety is blocking me. My hatred, my jealousy, my reaction is blocking me. My anger is blocking me to realize this. but that is expressed in my action. So action means karma in Eastern wisdom. So can we change that very karma? When we change that karma, it becomes a karma yoga. No, should I have to change all my actions? No. You have to change the mind inside before you are taking an action. Because anger is inside the mind before it is expressed in the speech and the action. This is the second step. In summary, I'm talking about the summarizing. We will understand in the following session in detail in its application. So, intellectual conviction is there, intellectual understanding is there that this is the real self, permanent peace, and we have already experienced that in many practices of meditation. You wrote to me that this week has been very calm and peaceful. The world outside was the same, but you were able to realize that calmness and peace throughout the false. Why it happens? Because the mind attaches to the false identity, and that happens in the mind. So if I change my mind before I think and speak and act, it is going to change me. That is what the second step. I'm trying to make you understand in a different way. So, because of the lack of self knowledge, we may think and speak and act out of the past habit. So, we have to learn how to get rid of those past habits which prompts me to think, speak, and act and enters into the anxiety. We are driven by the selfish desire sometimes. So can I make my selfish desire as selfless? That is what the second step is. We have sometime, this is my duty to guide you, to give you a lesson. But if there is a resistance in the mind, I escape that. So how to deal with that resistance? Say, for example, the son enters your house. So as a mother, you have to welcome. You have to offer, even if you don't like your son. So don't like it. You don't like the son inside your head, and that because the son has entered, so that is going to be expressed in the speech and action and creates an unhealthy relationship. But why to create an unhealthy relationship? The second step is very pragmatic, very practical. And I'll guide you by the teachings of the Gita, that how the second step is implemented and applied in daily life. So there is no resistance. You get out of the resistance. You welcome. You feel it is your duty. Duty means my duty of guiding you. So it has to be done. So you perform your duty bypassing all those criteria of reaction, and the life changes. Life changes completely. You feel the lightness in the body, calmness. Then now see another factor what happens by practicing karma yoga. You are not attached to the result. Your son reacts and you maintain your calmness. You're not attached. You give your best without expectation. Then your Christmas will be the great celebration. Your Thanksgiving will will bring the great satisfaction. Thanksgiving means I have to be grateful. So why it happens? because I lack a sense of the calmness in the presence of the past impression of reaction. Beautiful way to learn the second step. So I'm just laying down an introductory session today and then we will go step by step. So why we are not able to think and speak and act properly? Because the past impression overwhelms us and then we escape the situation, the people, and the relationship mentally and emotionally. Are you getting it? So when you escape, your mind has already started reaction. So we check that state of the mind. In the second step, we change that state of the mind. There's only one secret behind it. We are going to talk about it. So then what happens? By the practice of the second step, your mind is purified. Every day you follow that. Every day you follow that practice, you apply this in your thought, in your speech, in your action, and the life starts changing for better. Karma, Sanskrit word, means action, work. So you move from karma to karma yoga. Karma means you are already performing all those actions every day in your personal, professional, social life. So you add the yoga into all that action. Here, yoga means mental attitude, inner mental attitude plus action. But if you don't add the yoga, the mental attitude before the action, then what happens? Then the mind is already working, becomes crazy, go into anxiety, be frustrated today and get happiness, derive pleasure, and then goes into the pain. That is what it has been happening for so many years and days and weeks and months without any change. So the second step is to bring some yoga. Means here yoga means mental calmness and peace before you think, speak, and act in personal, professional, social life with your relations. You check, you change your mental state and the attitude, and then you think, speak, and act. So you prevent your mind to get carried away by the past impressions, anxiety, duality, conflict. It's a great second step. It takes time not only to understand but to implement. So we are laying down an introduction. So if we just understand what the benefits of this doing the second step. First step was purely philosophical, intellectual understanding. From the second step, we continue to do all the practice every day. I had a woman in the very first session. She has a stepdaughter, and she pointed her stepdaughter as a bitch. I didn't say anything. I said, let us do the practice of meditation. Sometime I don't say because I have to act at a very subtler level. So after a few weeks, she said that, I started chanting the mantra even when I'm in the kitchen, when I wake up in the morning and before going to the bed. And that attitude, my attitude in the mind has changed towards my stepdaughter. I'm sorry I said to her, bitch. So she applied it internally, first mentally, emotionally, and then she expressed her thought, speech, and action. So, the benefit of doing the second step is it purifies the mind. while you are doing your duties and actions in the spirit of service. I'm laying a foundation, so I'm going to explain each and every phrase. So when I perform, when I think, speak, and act in the attitude inside my head that I'm serving you, without any selfish motive or attachment, what happens? My mind is purified. We are going to understand that, how to achieve that state. So when I perform all my thought, speech, and action with an attitude of service and the humility without any selfish motivation, it breaks the false identification. While doing the action, performing yoga, if we act as an instrument of some higher consciousness. When you drive the car, does your car goes into stress? No. Why? The car is an instrument that belongs to you. Is your instrument. Instrument simply means that gadget I can use the way I like. I am the user. Now what is happening in the karma yoga? If I become the instrument of the higher consciousness, we will understand how. I'm just telling you what is the second step. Second step has a very deeper application. So the way the car is my instrument, the mobile phone is my instrument, the way I become the instrument of the higher consciousness, which is made up of the peace, happiness, love, truth, and wisdom, what is going to happen? You know the answer. It cultivates your higher consciousness. That is the another benefit of the karma yoga. When you are performing the karma yoga, I am saying again, be very clear. Whatever the action you are doing in your personal, professional, social life, you keep on doing it. Behind that, your attitude changes. So we are going to change that attitude in the mind before performing. How? I gave a brief answer. Where is that answer? Attitude of service, without any expectation. My motto is to give you the best. That is primary motivation. So what happens? The mind does not enter into any conflict. So what is going to happen in the second step? Your knowledge and action are integrated together. Right knowledge results into right action. Right knowledge results into right speech. Right knowledge results into right thought. So right thought is an action. Right speech is an action. It results into a beautiful journey of life. But we have to change the very mind before we are performing our duties. We will understand what do you mean by the duty. When we understand the definition and understanding of the duty, and then I'm stick to my duty, I'm doing my duty. When the sun comes, I'm doing my duty as a mother. When I have invited 10 people as a host, then I'm doing my duty without any expectation. So mind does not run after the expectation, it maintains the higher awareness while. So there is a shift in attitude. Second step is very important. So I will dwell deeply with you in the following sessions from the Gita. Instead of acting with the egoistic motive for personal fulfillment, to fulfill my expectation, I offer my action as a service to you, to have a to welfare for all the beings. That becomes karma yoga. How to do that? We are going to do that. We are just understanding. This is an introductory session. You have to pay attention and think of it. What I have taught you in this lesson, you just listen and see that is it possible to do it? A lawyer, a lawyer in the court can work for the name, fame, and amassing wealth, or he can work for the justice and upholding the righteousness, the justice. So he is getting the same fees, but his focus inside attitude is, no, I have to uphold the justice. So what happens then? It changes the mind. It brings the balance and the evenness in the mind, equanimity. Look at the farmer. Farmer is plying the field lovingly without worrying about unpredictable weather. So I don't worry about that whether you will appreciate me or not. Let me do the best in the spirit of service. You know what happens? You transcend your ego. Ego is the culprit of anxiety, of duality, of a conflict, of expectations, of attachment, of reaction, of depression. Ego is one of the main factors. Now, ego is gone. So, the goal of the karma yoga is how our thought, speech, and action changes by changing the attitude of the mind. You internally change the attitude, you change your motivation, going to the office, change of motivation, even in preparing the tea, change in motivation, even in going to sleep, change in motivation, intent, insight. That is what we are going to learn in the second step. So our thought changes from the self-centered to the self-transcending. That is how our thought process changes. From worrying about outcomes to focusing on the work itself. From planning for personal reward to offering effort, offering my effort to the higher kind. You know, I'm teaching you, I'm teaching you for the sake of the higher consciousness. Let the higher consciousness guide. I think in this way simply. Our son has come, son has come to teach me to offer the best service, offer the best love and care as a mother. Done. Without any expectation. Even in speech. So that attitude changes in speech from the words and manipulative speech of the kind to the truthful communication. From excessive talk aimed at impressing others to talking only what is necessary and helpful. And same thing with action, from the selfish and the reactive action to the selfless service in peace and the calmness. from actions arising from the egoistic likes and dislikes to actions born out of the inner wisdom. Come on, welcome, my son. From actions leaving behind, you don't leave any impressions in your mind while performing an action or in relationship. Your mind remains clear. That is what Gita says. It is possible. Yes, it is 100% possible. Second step. What? Second step is karma yoga. I told you in a simplified way. Action is done. I'm talking to you out of it. What is that motivation? Let me give you the best. Whatever Masters has taught. My motivation that let me serve you to awaken you to the permanent peace and happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. Or I may have a motive, let me extract more and more money. So there are two motivations. So mind says, Karma Yoga says that I have to change my motivation from selfish motivation to the selfless motivation. Now I'm able to serve you much better with a selfless motivation. So how to understand this is my duty. What is my duty towards you? Let me perform my best, my duty in the best possible manner. So that is why I think and I contemplate, and then I see how to personalize the session for you, and that is how I give the session for you. It is more than 1 hour of the session. I have to contemplate and reflect your entire personality, your challenges that you have, and you send the messages the way your mind is working based on that. It is not a mechanical, habitual way of thinking. So what happens? What happens behind that? I discover it is my duty and responsibility. So that is how we understand the duty in relationship, duty in the personal life, duty towards the body, duty towards the mind, duty towards your pets, and the life changes. I do it as a duty. I have to do it in the best possible way. Now we are learning that how karma yoga changes entire life. So then I change the proper attitude. So first I have understood the duty part. Second, the attitude in the mind. Third, with that attitude in the mind, I think and I inspire my mind that I am doing this for the greater good on behalf of the higher consciousness, or I'm doing it for the sake of, on behalf of the real self. So the real self should be realized. We are blending knowledge and action together. I don't escape my any duty. I focus more inside than outside. And you will see the purification of the mind takes place. So after understanding the characteristics of the real self, the second step is that I have to unburden. I have to release the past impressions living in the mind, which translates into thought, speech, and action, and causes anxiety, duality, and a conflict. So every time I'm performing an action, I'm releasing those. Master says, I have to perform an action selflessly. You are going to the office, you are working there. No doubt you definitely get the reward in terms of the money, wealth. But internally, your mental attitude is that you are working selflessly. If you don't understand, let me know. Without egoistic desire for the reward. Then only we purify the mind from the likes and dislikes, from the reaction, from the past impression. And that results into peace and calmness in the mind. So we are doing two things. We are doing our duty in a best possible way, and then our mind is not on the result, expectation outside, but my mind is totally focused on the action part, attitude in the mind, and then let me do my action completely. So if my intent, if the attitude in the mind is expectation plus reaction plus likes and dislikes, even my action is very great for others, it will bring the tension and the stress. Now, the attitude in the mind is the peace and the calmness, selfless activity. I am doing it for the sake of the duty. Even the small action will bring and expand your mind to peace and happiness. We are going to learn. So you have to think of these things. Is it possible? It happens. The way you take care of your pets, it is a selfless act. It is not an act out of the reaction, because if you do any of these acts out of the reaction, it is going to cause you a lot of problems. And if you can do it with your pets, why can't you do it with in all the situations in your life? So we dedicate all our actions mentally, I'm saying mentally and emotionally, by thinking that I'm offering this act of teaching to you, to the higher consciousness for the best outcome, and let me start teaching. What happens? There is a sense of equanimity in the mind. And that equanimity in the mind changes the inner attitude, it purifies the mind. So you see, you are performing all the actions as you are. So we can say action plus false self, ignorance plus false self. That is karma. And ignorance plus real self is the karma yoga. Ignorance, the karma, in both the cases, karma is there. Karma plus false self. And the karma plus but I don't know the real self. But I know the characteristics of the real self. The false self has a different attitude. In both the cases, the attitude matters. Attitude matters. What I said, action plus false self, that is our normal activity. Because we are habituated to act that way since our birth. We learn from the society. So attitude matters. What is that attitude? attitude, karma, action plus false self. So it means I have attitude. It is a negative attitude, it is a selfish attitude, it is reactive attitude. I feel the burden sometime of doing the duty. I have lot of expectations. And another attitude, now you do it the other. You have a positive. How you can have a positive attitude? Because you feel you are doing duty. You are doing this work as duty, just as duty. Duty for peace, duty for peace and happiness. So now instead of selfish intent, now you have an unselfish intent, selfless intent. You don't feel the burden, you feel the pleasure of doing it. I'm trying to make the things clear in very introductory session. So it means that the inner attitude, the attitude before thought, speech, and action. Are you getting it? Attitude. I just become aware. Am I calm? Yes. I'm relaxed? Yes. I have prepared my lesson for you after personalizing? Yes. Do I want to give you the best? Yes. Done. And now I start acting. One of the most striking results that comes, you have a peace and happiness before the action. You continue the peace and happiness during the action. You're speaking, you're talking, you're performing a task, but you are recognizing the peace and happiness. You are not recognizing the anxiety reaction inside. Are you getting it? That is what I mean by the attitude. And then what happens? Once the action is complete, you still see the peace and happiness before, during, and after after every action from small to big. Every action. Why? Attitude. What attitude? First, what attitude? I can say karma with the real self. So, what is the attitude with a positive attitude? Unselfish. You drop the burden. Now, I'm not going to be selfish in this duty, in this task. Let me offer this to you. Simply think in your head. Let me offer this activity to the higher self, which is the real self. And you just simply think, and then you perform the activity. That is what I mean. We normally perform the action, means action plus false self. The false self is already attached there. Now I perform the action on behalf of the real self that is already within me. So, real self says that I have to think and speak and act out of the peace, happiness, love, and truth and wisdom. Obviously, then I recognize that I am in peace and calmness before the action, during the action, after the action. I'm not trying to be very complex, just think and listen to it again and again and understand so that we will have the new lesson full of wisdom. Thank you, my friend. Namaste.